There is a version of your life where everything you wanted already happened. The business launched. The skill mastered. The goal reached. The thing you kept saying you would start. Already done. Already real. That version exists. But you are not living it yet. And the reason is not talent. It is not circumstance. It is not bad luck. It is the quiet, comfortable, completely convincing lie that tomorrow is a better day to begin. This is the story of Kabir. Kabir was a medical student in a small village that had never produced a doctor before. He was the first young man from his community to earn a place at the college in the city. His mother wept the morning he left. His father stood at the gate and watched him walk down the road until he disappeared completely. The expectations were enormous, and Kabir carried them proudly at first. He was sharp. He understood concepts quickly. His lecturers noticed him in the first weeks and said quietly among themselves that this one had something rare. But Kabir had a habit. A small one, barely noticeable at first. He waited. He waited until he felt ready before he opened his books. He waited until the room was quiet, the temperature perfect, the mood right. He told himself he worked better under pressure, that he would absorb more when he was truly focused. That tonight was not quite right, but tomorrow morning, fresh and early, he would begin properly. Tomorrow morning came, and the same voice returned with the same reasonable argument. First year passed in a blur of almost started study sessions and last-minute cramming. He passed. Barely. He told himself second year would be different. Second year was not different. By third year, Kabir was exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with hard work. It was the exhaustion of carrying undone things, of knowing exactly what needed to be done and choosing, day after day, not to do it, of watching peers move forward while he stood still inside the comfortable prison of waiting for the right moment. Then one evening his father visited him at his small rented room near the college. They sat together at a narrow wooden table with 2 cups of tea growing cold between them. His father said very little at first. Then he stood up slowly and gestured for Kabir to follow him outside. They walked together through the quiet evening streets until they reached the edge of the village cemetery. His father stopped at a particular grave. Simple stone. No elaborate marking. Just a name and 2 dates carved plainly into the surface. Kabir read the name. A young man from their village. Someone Kabir had known briefly as a child. He had been 26 years old when he died. A sudden illness. No warning. His father stood beside the grave in silence for a long moment. Then he said quietly, he wanted to study medicine too. He kept saying he would begin properly after the harvest season. Then after the winter. Then after his sister's wedding. He paused. The seasons kept moving. He kept waiting. Kabir stared at the stone. He ran out of time before he ran out of reasons to wait. His father said nothing more. He simply turned and walked slowly back toward the road, leaving Kabir standing alone in the fading evening light in front of that small carved stone. Kabir stood there for a long time. He was not thinking about grades or examinations or his mother's expectations or his father's sacrifices in that moment. He was thinking about something far simpler and far more terrifying. That time does not negotiate. That it does not wait while you find the right mood or the perfect moment or the ideal conditions. That somewhere, in a story he had almost lived himself, a young man with the same dream and the same delays had simply run out of tomorrows before he ever began. Kabir walked back to his room alone that night. He sat down at his narrow desk. He did not feel motivated. He did not feel inspired in the way he had always imagined inspiration would feel. He felt something quieter and more honest than that. He felt the weight of time. Real time. Finite time. The kind that does not pause for anyone regardless of how reasonable their reasons for waiting are. He opened his textbook. Not because the mood was right. Not because he had finally found the feeling he had been waiting for. But because he understood for the first time, standing at that grave in the fading light, that the feeling was never coming first. The beginning had to come first. Everything else would follow. He did not study perfectly that night. He managed 2 hours before exhaustion won. Some days that followed, he moved slowly through material that felt impossible. Some mornings the old voice returned with its familiar reasonable arguments, and he felt the pull of the comfortable delay. But he moved. Every day. Imperfectly. Without waiting for conditions that would never be ideal anyway. Weeks passed. Then months. The material that had felt impossible became manageable. The confidence that had quietly eroded during years of waiting began to rebuild itself, not through inspiration, but through the accumulated evidence of small daily action. He graduated with honors, not because he became more motivated, but because he stopped waiting to be. Here is what this story is really about. Procrastination is not laziness. That is the first lie we need to correct. Procrastination is the act of a capable person choosing comfort over commitment, again and again, in moments too small to feel dangerous until the damage is already done. You are not waiting for motivation. You are avoiding the discomfort of beginning. And here is the hard truth about motivation. It almost never arrives before the work. It arrives during it. The feeling of readiness you are waiting for is not a starting condition. It is a reward for starting anyway. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is a decision made in small moments when nothing about the situation feels inspiring. It is opening the book when you do not want to. Sending the message when you are not ready. Taking the first step before the whole path is visible. The cost of procrastination is not just the lost time. It is the version of yourself that never got built. The skill never developed. The confidence never earned. The life that stayed a plan instead of becoming a reality. Think about the thing you have been postponing. The one thing that keeps appearing on tomorrow's list. The idea that visits you every night before you sleep and is still there every morning when you wake. Give it 15 minutes today. Not tomorrow. Not after this video ends and the feeling fades. Today, because the gap between the life you have and the life you want is not filled with motivation. It is filled with a small daily decision to begin before you feel ready. Kabir stood at a grave one evening and understood that time was already spending itself whether he used it or not. That somewhere carved in stone was the story of a young man who had every reason and every intention and simply ran out of tomorrows before he began. You still have your tomorrows. But tomorrow is not the answer. Right now is. Start now. Imperfectly. Anyway. And if this story reached something inside you, share it with one person who needs to hear it today. Subscribe for new stories every week. Because sometimes all it takes is one story at the right moment to change the direction of everything.